Welcome into the Sports Objective, the unofficial podcast of the Pirates. And what a great show we have tonight. Very excited. We'll have, I'm sure, Kyle from LaGrange, Barber at some point. Bubba Rosenbaum, what's up, dude?
What's going on, guys? It's good to be talking East Carolina athletics and specifically tonight, the Alumni Association. Welcome into the program, Scott Francis.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm actually a member of I told you that, Scott, before we came on, a member of the association. I'm very proud of the association. I tell people all the time, I should have never been accepted into East Carolina. So for the fact they gave me a chance, I graduated. It's not about, I guess it wasn't pretty, but I still got to the finish line and still finished and graduated and have the diploma on the wall. And very excited to have you on. Like I was telling you, September 1, we've been doing the show for 2.5 years, and you were one of the ones to come on because we want to give a chance to spotlight and honor the Alumni Association for all that you do for the grads and all that you do for the university.
Well, I appreciate that. It is a labor of love, and no 2 days are the same typically, and so you never know who you're going to come across, what you're going to come across, and some of the great stories that I get to hear every day.
No question about it. With the Alumni Association, can you give I guess a thumbnail sketch of what you guys do for, I know what you do, obviously, and Kyle and Bubba, but for our audience that some people are maybe non-ECU or maybe they want to go to ECU or whatever, tell them about the Alumni Association.
Sure. Gosh, where do I start? So I'll give you the company line. Mission of the Alumni Association is to inform, involve, and serve the members of the ECU family throughout their lifelong relationship with the university. But and mission statements can be a little edgy-speaky. So our vision is really just transform the experience of being a pirate. We're pretty passionate about the fact that being a pirate is not a 4-year decision; it's a forever decision. And so, especially since if you don't finish in 4, I was a 5. Took me 5 to get out of undergrad myself. So. But it's a lifelong decision, and there's experiences in your life after the university that your pirate story keeps going. So we've got about 178,000 living alumni worldwide, and we put on a ton of programs in town, but we also have our chapters program that does programs regionally in different cities, and those are run 100% by volunteers and other pirates who are just passionate and want to get people involved. We run a scholarship program through our office, about 20 students each year we sponsor and sponsor them with a scholarship that some of them may not have been able to go to ECU otherwise without it, or would have been able to go but wouldn't have a normal kind of student experience without those additional funds to kind of live the lifestyle of a normal student, nothing extravagant, but being able to, do something besides be in front of your books and go back and forth to class. Although right now, that's what we need them to do.
I was just thinking, welcome to the show, Kyle, Barber, and Bubba. I'm wondering, this is something just off the top of my head, so forgive me. I haven't had a chance to really think about it. It just hit me. Kyle, you and I always talk, and Bubba, about the Pirate Club. Is there any way that, Scott, that we could get you with the Pirate Club, because we have 178,000 alums, and we only have like 6,000 Pirate Club members. I know that's not your number one job, but it'd be really cool if we could get some kind of way that we could get. We've got to have more than 6,000 people when we're a big time university, Division I school, and having 178,000 or over 170,000 people that are alums, and to be able to give back to the university.
Right, and I think athletics and Pirate Club is one of our kind of primary partners that we're looking to connect with, and we've had a few conversations about where there's some kind of overlap in that Venn diagram, and where there's opportunities to activate non-Pirate Club members and alumni out there, and so that's going to be ongoing. The institution I came from before had those issues a few years back, and it takes a while to get everybody rowing in the same direction and towards a common cause. And you get there. It takes some conversation and just making sure that all your priorities and your goals align.
How many members are in the Alumni Association?
178,000. We are no longer a membership, dues-based membership organization. So,
okay, so if you're an alum, you're a member. Okay.
Right. So you graduate, you're a member.
Okay.
So Kyle, you can go back to school like Rodney Dangerfield, and then you can become part of the Alumni Association.
Well, I'm a Pirate Club member. My wife's a member of the Alumni Association.
I know.
And it's, well, I mean, then okay. So how was fundraising done for the Alumni Association? You're not dues based anymore. So how was fundraising done?
Correct. So we moved to a more annual giving type of model, and so we rely on donations from alumni. So we do, I think, 3 regular calls per year, not calls, but regular campaigns per year to get folks to donate to the Alumni Association, to support our programs, to support our scholars. Last year, we had just under 500 donors, and our goal this year is 1,000 donors. We want 1,000 gifts this year to the Alumni Association. That would include to our scholarship program. One of the tricky things about an alumni association, so that the membership model is a model that a lot of schools use, but what it does, it cuts you off from a good portion. Even if you're Penn State and you're Paul Clifford and you've got 25% of your alumni base are members, you're still cutting out 75% of your alumni and not communicating with them regularly. So going non-membership, it's more inclusive. You're able to reach out to everybody and communicate with everybody. The downside is you've got to fund your programs and the things that you do. And so the tricky part of that is, as an alumni association, all of the graduates of ECU are ours, but nobody graduated from us. Nobody went to class in us, with us. Nobody lived in the hall with us. And so the affinity to ECU is there, but it might be stronger with your fraternity, your sorority, your residence hall floor, your college, your club or organization. So nobody really graduated from us, yet every alumni from the university is ours. And so it's a tricky, slippery slope. Philosophically, we exist to let every alumni give back to ECU wherever they'd want, whether that's to us, whether that's to Pirate Club, whether that's to the College of Engineering. We just want folks to stay engaged with the university and give back. And if that's not directly in support of us, that's fine. The more support, the better. And rising tide lifts all ships.
Scott, personally, I wanted to ask you. I think it's coming out. I want to say, help me out with this with the directory. Isn't it May? I got a call and I've got one because obviously we want to help out the Alumni Association. We want to be, obviously myself personally, I wanted to be in the directory, but can you talk about that? Is that a project still going on, or for people that are alums and they want to be a part of that?
It is still going on, although my emails have cut down on, is this real? Because there's a postcard that goes out and there's some phone calls being done. And what we're trying to do from one standpoint is update our alumni information. If we don't know where you live or how to get in touch with you, that's not good. So we're trying to close the gap in our information and get updated on information on who people are, where they are, and how to get in touch with them. And then there's the options to buy these directories so that you can see folks from your class, people who you may or may not have known that aren't in your class. So the class reunion is kind of a staple in alumni affairs, the 50-year reunion, 25-year reunion. I don't know where the tipping point is, but at some point, your class year is not really going to be what drives you to come back to campus. It'll be more about people and individuals. At some point down the road, college students started coming in with 32 credits, and the mixing of freshmen and sophomores and seniors started to happen more regularly, and eventually your class year won't be the driver, but that's still a hot spot of affinity for a lot of our alumni. So folks will have the opportunity to call back to that survey and update your information. And then you have the option to buy the directory, or some ECU alumni merchandise, which is not on shelves anywhere really. So there's those two opportunities, and I think at the tail end of the call, there is an opportunity to give to the Alumni Association if you just wanted to give a gift without the merchandise or the directory.
Do you guys try to reach out to alums through social media? I mean, you know, you can kind of search to see if someone has ECU listed as their alma mater. Have you guys done that and just, you know, tried to do it that route digitally? Your Facebook?
It would be a super heavy lift to have one person or a few people kind of surfing through there. The accuracy would be tricky because I've got multiple Facebook accounts. They're both me, but the name accuracy isn't necessarily always there.
I would take money for whoever wanted to give it to me.
Say again?
I would take the money from whoever wanted to give it to me.
Well, yes, we'll take it from anyone.
If you had a lot, they won't give you money. I wouldn't worry about if it's the right account or not.
We do have a social media account. Typically, we don't do a lot of fundraising asking through social media. We do that more directly. It's an avenue where we're looking at. We use the social media account more for awareness than actual direct outreach for fundraising.
Gotcha.
That what I was going to ask, as far as the when you talk about the directory, is that something where, for example, I just realized when you mentioned about the class year, I can't believe I haven't thought about it. I guess because of the COVID year, it's been 25 years since I've graduated ECU. I used to be the young guy in the room. I'm not the young guy anymore.
I hate when it seems like it happens overnight, doesn't it?
Yeah. But as far as those directories, that'll be something great, because one of the things that drives me crazy is the very fact that we have a lot of alums not giving, and we have a lot of famous people that I feel like that they made part of their name or their name off ECU, and then, you know, whether it's athletes, actresses, actors, different folks, I'm hoping that they will you know, give back. Is that something that you guys can reach out to them?
There is, and so the famous people are tough because they, you know, like anybody else, they've got a million different things going on in their lives. And what I found at my previous institution is when they are engaged by someone they knew when they were in school, who's kind of rowing in the right direction for the university and kind of advocating on behalf of the university, that's more likely to get you a big name involved. Is, oh, somebody's kind of co-signing this that I know, that I trust. I'm willing to hear them and jump on board, jump in and see what this is all about. And so we had at my previous institution a former Heisman Trophy winner on our board, who was engaged. He was in and out, but when we got another one of our board members became the running his nonprofit, his involvement skyrocketed. He started to come to some stuff, and once he saw what we were doing and understood the bigger picture, he got more involved, got really behind it, and now he's one of the better ambassadors that we have. It just, sometimes it takes, you know, you are at this university and everybody there knows you or thinks they know you, and so they're cautious about how they get involved. And so that's a relationship building process more than anything else, is getting kind of bigger names and celebrities and former athletes involved.
So if Vince McMahon is watching us right now, he needs to pick up the phone and call you, right, Scott?
I will answer. I'll certainly answer. I'll take Vince or Linda. It would be great to get those folks, those names you recognize, involved in supporting the university one way or the other. And with the person I was talking about before it started, with just using his likeness, you know, would you be okay if we used your likeness for some of our appeals and fundraising requests, and you advocating on our behalf? And it started there and grew from there.
That's awesome. So maybe they'll there at the WWE, they'll do that for. And Sandra Bullock, if you're watching, another one too out on the West Coast.
Another famous ECU alum that never gets mentioned that was involved in wrestling, Sweet Stan Lane of the Midnight Express.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. Stan Lee. Wow, I love him. Well, I didn't realize that. I love him even more now. I love the Midnight Express, so that's really cool. Scott, as far as one thing that I want to compliment your organization on is, and something I was talking to Kyle. That's Stan Lee. Wow, I love him. Well, I didn't realize that. Now,
We got two browsers open, Bubba.
Bubba,
Scott, as
far as
one thing that
there we go. Scott, as far as I wanted to compliment you guys on the past of now that I have kids, it's really hard to do, but we'll make a point of it in the future is the alumni tailgates. You guys, I tell you one thing, when I talk about the show on big time, you guys are big time with the events, with the adult beverages, the pirate beverages, and the food. I mean, it's like a family reunion. It is like on steroids. It is awesome. If people haven't been to those alumni tailgates, I know that may be tricky this year, but I wanted to compliment you guys in the past. I've been to a few, and it's a lot of fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's one of my favorite events that we have that we put on. And so, if I could tell you a story, last year being my first year here at ECU, and we're wrapping up the season, and we're at that point we're 4-7, going into Tulane week. And so historically, everywhere I've worked in alumni, that Thanksgiving Day weekend game it's different depending on your opponent and your team's season. And so I was at Florida before. That's Florida and Florida State weekend. Now there's an issue with those two schools not being good at the same time for the last 20 years or so, but that's supposed to be a big weekend. And because of the Thanksgiving break, it just gets you lose a lot of your crowd because they're traveling, they're on the road. So we're going into Tulane week. Where
whose dog is that?
It's my two dogs.
Okay, all right.
My wife comes home, the dogs lose their mind.
Okay.
So we're going into Tulane week. We're 4-7. There's no bowl game in sight. It's raining. The weather's not great. And so at the end of our tailgate, I decided, hey, everybody who's been to every one of our tailgates this year, come on in. Let's get a picture together. Everybody that made it to each one of these home tailgates. I was expecting 12, 15 people to kind of saunter over. It's like 70 people. Wow. Like 70 people that gathered around. It's raining. My kids are with me, soaking wet and miserable. And it just shows the pride and the commitment that some folks have. And fan bases all have that, but to be out there in the rain, still hanging with the team. And I said it every week, the Pirates do not win the American without us. The Pirates cannot win without filling this stadium. It doesn't work the other way around. You can't wait till, we start winning and then I'll come. You come, you make a difference, we start to win. So I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. We don't win the conference without me, you, without your behinds in those seats, doing our part to help them along.
We might have to try to this year.
Might have to what?
We might have to try to this year.
Right. Well, yeah.
Hey, I've already told him on record. I told him before the show, and I'll say it again publicly, that he's a planner. I know he is, being a part of the Alumni Association with all the great events they do. He better have his game ready for 21, because 21 we're going to be outstanding and maybe competing for. Speaking of a conference championship, you can write it down here. 21 we'll be competing for one, big time.
We'll be good. We'll definitely be good by 21. Houston's too good of a coach not to be.
Scott, I know you talked about some of the numbers in general with 178,000 living alums. Mm-hmm. I'm 30 minutes north of downtown Charlotte, obviously a large alumni base here. So just talk about that, and then talk about how the Alumni Association, I'm pretty sure you guys kind of work hand in hand with the Pirate Club a lot of times, right, as far as different events and so forth, if I'm not mistaken. So just talk about how important Charlotte is to East Carolina.
Sure. And so, we've got that number of alumni, and right now ECU has the largest and most diverse alumni base in our history. About 25% of our alumni live in kind of 6 geographic markets that we try to center our alumni engagement efforts around. There's Pitt County, Wake, Charlotte, Durham, DC, and the Metro New York area. Those are kind of our 6 largest areas. Now, when you're talking about the Metro New York area, it depends on who you're asking, how wide a net we're really talking about there. But Charlotte's really important to us. And unfortunately, we don't get out there as often. We were scheduled to get out there before, everything kind of got locked up on us. But Charlotte's important. Charlotte's, I want to say we've got between 6,000 and 8,000 alumni in kind of that greater Charlotte, Mecklenburg County area there. And so one of our goals is to get out there, get involved more often. As we seek board members, we're actually seeking some board members that live in that area to help support some of the things that we're trying to do out there. Your question about Pirate Club, about little over a year ago, less than a year ago, we had some conversations about how we could get involved and support one another. Again, with 6,000 Pirate Club members, but 178,000 alumni, whether they become members or not, there's still a ton of opportunities to engage those folks. And just like the Alumni Association, the more our job is really to engage those folks and get them involved and make them want to contribute more, whether that's their time, their talent, their treasure, to places at ECU. And so working with the Pirate Club, if we all kind of got together and got rowing in the same direction, that's where kind of that magic happens. And we've had some really good conversations. They're really positive conversations, and momentum was heading that way. We already do our ports of call, our away game kind of experiences that we do on Friday before a few home games. Last year we did NC State, Navy, and what was the other one? I'm drawing a blank. We did a Friday night Navy and a tailgate, pregame tailgate at Navy. We did a Friday night before the NC State game, and then we did Friday night before Old Dominion.
Old Dominion. Okay, yeah.
Scott,
I had to ask you about that. You were mentioning big areas for alumni. What about that Norfolk, Tidewater, Hampton Roads area?
That's a big one as well. Norfolk and the Tidewater area. That the trick there is, I guess if you combined both of those areas, you get a really big number. But each of those places individually is a pretty strong number and can make a case in and of itself for involvement. We do have a couple board members and past alumni board chairs living there that we spring into action when we can.
Well, if you grew up in Eastern North Carolina, it is one area. If anybody who grew up where me and Dave grew up, if you're talking about anywhere from Suffolk to south of Williamsburg, we just call it the Tidewater.
Yeah, no, Hampton Roads, Tidewater. Scott, as far as one of the things to prepare for is, I know people maybe think I'm glass half full, but we're at some point we're gonna get back to a bowl. That's something that you guys could do, and hopefully we can team up with you or help you out. Especially, I know Kyle will be ready for that road trip, and so will Bubba. Maybe it'll be in Myrtle Beach. We can have the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Will be a close one. Wherever it is, it's going to be fantastic. But that's something you guys would do, right? Is do a tailgate and do a big experience around the bowl.
Yes, we had been talking about it last year, and as the season progressed, kind of doing the math. I'm like, well, we're still eligible. Let's talk about it. And the bowl watch starts mid-October, and you start looking at where you could be placed, and if this happens or it falls that way. And so that is us and Pirate Club are absolutely in lockstep on that one in terms of partnering together when that is an option for us. Did you know I've been to an ECU bowl game before?
You have?
I have. I was at the Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. In 2015.
On the field.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you in the purple and gold. Yeah. As far as I'll tell you, another big party we're going to have is with Coach Cliff Godwin with the baseball team. This fan base is due. Scott, we've had 30 attempts being in the postseason and none in Omaha. And we go to Omaha. I'll do whatever. If I have to put it my own personal money, we're going to have a big party because that's a huge accomplishment. it's not a matter of if, it's when. We're getting so close to going there.
Yes, when that day comes, I will have 8 of the phone numbers dialed to stats before that last out, and as soon as we get that last out, I'm pushing the buttons. Book us for the upstairs on whatever date we're going to end up playing. That'll be quite a party, and Omaha won't know what hit them.
Well, we have Othello Meadows, one of the former basketball players that lives out there, and he told me that one of the sports bars that he's going to personally throw a really big party. So maybe we can team him. We can connect you guys, and maybe we can do something really cool. Right, Bubba? I guess Bubba's asleep now. There we are, Bubba.
Give me a moment to unmute myself.
Okay.
But Keandre Hooker, a former East Carolina defensive lineman, chiming in, says we're lucky to have Scott as part of our Pirate family.
I love that guy. Yeah, I was lucky enough to connect with him early on, and looking forward to developing that relationship and when it's safe to getting together face to face.
One question I have, Scott, as far as another thing that Kyle, I know Bubba and I want to see, speaking of football and speaking of Cadre and a lot of the guys, I really want to see a big alumni base as far as a football, former football players, alums. And the spring game used to be big time. It used to be really big. And I mean, they had carnival rides. They had the guys from the Miller Lite commercials. They had all kinds of elephants, all kinds of crazy stuff that maybe we can't do today. But it was it was an event. And that's something, I know Kyle wants to have Bon Jovi there and different things like a concert or something. But I would love to see a whole bunch of alums from the football. We've got so many great football players, and they're hungry. They want to be a part, coming back and being part of the spring game. And I'm hoping that that's something we can do is have, there would be thousands of players show up, I'm sure.
Yeah. And spring game is an interesting kind of phenomenon depending on where you are. But I think if we can get some former players that are coming back and want to come back and kind of make it public that they're coming back, again, like most reunions, you come back for your school, but your school and your experience here is about the people. And so if you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 teammates coming back and they're all kind of out there saying, hey, we're going to be there, other guys will see that, and that momentum builds, especially as you get across years and folks that cross over. So that's how you get, somebody from the class of 2015 connected to somebody from the class of 2005. Just by kind of those overlap. If you get enough overlap years creating that chain, you get a good turnout of people coming back.
As a matter of fact, Bubba, if you want to put that up there, Mike Radford, a friend of I know the Rosenbaums, and certainly a great wrestler back in the day. He put scheduled on a home baseball weekend, which is true. That would help out a lot. Or just come out for the spring game.
Be interesting.
Yeah, schedule a spring game for the same weekend as a home baseball series. That way we'd have a bigger turnout of alums and people in general, which would be good for everybody. If you have a home baseball series, put the spring game the same weekend, you got more reason to come to Greenville, which would be better for the Alumni Association, the Pirate Club, and everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One thing I was going to ask you, Scott, maybe you can, I can lead you into this. Is there any way we can have tailgates at the baseball?
I think so. We tried it, but the year before just before I got here, actually a couple months before I got here, the Alumni Association did a pregame event before regional. It's not the preferred way that my staff like to live, is kind of finding out we're doing this and like 3-4 days later you've got to execute it. But that's regionals, that's NCAA basketball tournament. Everything happens so quickly and you got to turn it around. So this year, with the benefit of some planning and some time, I think we may be able to put at least a couple together. Once that schedule comes out, we'll know better, and we'll know a little bit more. But I think that's an opportunity we want to explore and get some different people, get a different crowd than the football crowd. There'll, of course, be some crossover, but just create a different experience and give people the opportunity to get together and get their pirate on before the game.
Now, what do you do this year with likely no fans or very few fans being allowed at football? Obviously, the alumni tailgates is one of the big social events for the Alumni Association. So what do you do? How do you engage the alumni this fall with likely not having an alumni tailgate?
We are going to be doing a slew of digital programs this year. A lot of Zoom programs. There's some things we want to try to do around, and the first domino to fall is football, and when and if and when, and then who are going to make up the fans that are in that stadium, and kind of once we have that information, directing what we do from there. But we'll be doing a ton of digital programming. We will be hosting the golf tournament in October, but it'll be a lot of talking through screens for a little while here, and that's fine. We'll be really engaging the non-sports crowd for quite some time. In that, tailgate is we've got that down pat. We know the deal. We've got a really good kind of cadence and rhythm to how all that goes. A lot of our digital stuff is pretty new. We're going to try a lot of different new things. We're going to dive pretty head deep into we want to provide value for our alumni. So we're going to dive pretty deep into kind of some of the professional development, some of it aimed at our younger alumni, some of it aimed at our kind of mid-career alumni moving from outside of your first and second job to the next level. We'll do a bunch of that. And then as we get more information and as we kind of understand what all of this means in the sports world, we'll pivot and go where the people are at that point.
Scott, I just had an idea off the top of my head. You were talking about the virtual events. Is there something that we could do where, as a way to get alumni base, maybe we could get I don't know how we do it, but I guess anything's possible. But any of the famous alumni, maybe if we could do a Zoom call where we could have them, come on and talk for a little bit, maybe some Q&A afterwards, or is there something like that we could do while we take advantage of the technology with Zoom or something like it, and obviously another way to get the name of the Alumni Association out.
Right, and that's one of the things we're exploring. How big a name is the trick, and again, it's relationship building, and are there folks that we know out there that will pick up the phone when we call, or do we know a person who knows that person
Right.
that can help get us connected? So looking at all of our options, but yeah, that's one of them out there. Obviously, a name people recognize will get more folks on the call and more folks involved.
In fact, our next guest we have in a matter of minutes is an alum of East Carolina, Patrick Johnson of 94.3 The Game. So another guy that Eastern North Carolina guy, kid from Kinston, who's done very well for himself. He's coming on in a matter of minutes. So there's so many people that I guess sometimes we take for granted that, oh, that's right, they are an alum.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. I mean, you look through it enough, and names pop up. I see them in our own news feed from the ECU kind of LinkedIn feed, from the Alumni Association feed. It's, didn't know that person was a Pirate. And so that's what's tricky for me is just wrapping up my first year here, getting to know all the names and who's who. And I'm just, I don't want to say I'm irate. I'm disappointed in the COVID happening, and kind of I've been locked up for 6 months. And so part of my getting out there and meeting people got shut down in the middle. So I actually have my performance meeting with my boss tomorrow, and I am claiming this as my redshirt year. I got some games in, but this is my redshirt year. So this year now I'm a redshirt freshman. So I'm claiming another year of eligibility.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. There's a rule came out where you can't have another year of eligibility that NCAA decided today. So they were thinking about Scott Francis for sure with the Alumni Association. Before we let you go, how can people, we've really enjoyed, we'll have you back on. How can people get in contact with you regarding the Alumni Association, and hopefully we can really build this thing?
You can find me at piratealumni.com. That's our website. And then I'm on Twitter at Scott E. Francis ECU. And I think I have an Instagram account with 3 posts on it with that same handle. You're not going to find much of me there, but I am pretty active on Twitter and obviously on our website and LinkedIn. You can find me there, and I'm happy to connect and just have loved the experience of being a Pirate. Love the experience of being here in Greenville, in the Greenville area, and the people have been so kind and welcoming to me and my family, and I can't say how much I've appreciated that.
Well, just like Dre Hooker said, we're glad to have you part of the Pirate family. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. And again, we'd love to have you back on a regular basis on the Sports Objective.
Not a problem. Back whenever you need me.
All right, Scott, have a great night.
All right, go Pirates.
Thanks.
All right, Scott Francis, glad to have him on.
Don't worry about it.
We have another Pirate now. Let's bring on Bubba and Kyle, our friend of the podcast.
I'm brushing my assistants off is what I'm doing. I'm brushing them off. They want to. Sorry, guys. I'm technically challenged. I was in the wrong range. I was watching you all and not participating. So I'm sorry I wasn't in the green room.
That's all right. Patrick Johnson here with us now. And you're an alum, so we had Scott Francis on as he does a great job with the Alumni Association. Out of the gate, for folks that don't know, Patrick Johnson does a show on 94.3 The Game, the P-Man, and listen to you this afternoon. And
you're the one. Great.
Yeah,
I knew you were
yeah.
out there. I've heard of you. That's great.
But unfortunately, we got the news, about that we wanted to talk about that we were afraid that was going to happen. It did this afternoon with the, I would guess you would call it an outbreak would be fair, with the football team and with the student body there, Clement Dorm. Can you let the viewers and listeners know about your take on things?
Yeah, first of all, hi to everybody, to you, Dave, to Kyle, and to Bubba, who's never looked better than he looks right now, by the way.
Cutout.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Hello, Bubba. Look at you at a sporting event. Hide yourself, Bubba. We can't let the governor know you're at a sporting event. You might be the 26th man, and that would be problematic for the sporting event.
Hey, I wish I was at a sporting event, Patrick. I'm just at a stadium.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bubba said does it for sports. He just randomly goes to the minor league baseball stadium and hangs out.
Now, where is this? Is this the one
Kannapolis.
in Kannapolis? That's like this. That's the social hangout of Kannapolis. People go there and they can drink beer.
Yeah,
and
right there in center field.
Yeah,
That's what Bubba does, actually. He goes and gets drunk.
Yeah. So, I really want to hear Kyle cut a promo like a mid-Atlantic wrestling manager a few weeks ago on Facebook about all this COVID stuff, which I thought was great. It was I thought it was hilarious and spot on, I might add. The thing about all of this is it's bound to happen when you're in close quarters. It's bound to happen when you have the students back, from what I understand, because we have some students on our staff because it's cheap labor. We, nobody's really around the dorms abiding by any of this, wearing masks or anything. And to me, I think Mike Houston and the staff with ECU football have done a hell of a job, but I mean, there's only so many controllables you can control. But how many ECU, Notre Dame, UNC, whoever, how many have been hospitalized out of all of this? I thought the idea here was to flatten the hospital curve. So, I mean, we have another moving goal line here in a sense. And, look, I don't want to, this is a very serious virus if it impacts the wrong people. I'm not some loon. I mask up everywhere I go. I'm fine with that.
Patrick, you and I might be the wrong people.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, seriously, I mean, if you have some kind of health issue, look, there's a good friend of mine there in Lenoir County. She was asymptomatic, but her father's had some health challenges. He went to the Vidant Hospital and was able to get out and get back home. But he had some other health challenges too. These athletes we're talking about are young. These athletes we're talking about are physically fit. The thing that, and I don't have the term in front of me, and I can't remember it, but the heart thing that everybody's worried about. I'm not saying you shouldn't be worried about it. What I'm saying is, if everything I've read on it, if it goes untreated, well, these athletes are in the care of some of the best doctors, certainly in their communities, in their states, on the planet. The medical care they're going to receive is way better than it is in a lot of cases if they are just out seeking it on their own or going to a doctor on their own in the community.
There was a story about that very thing out of Georgia State today. Quarterback of Georgia State. I didn't read the story completely, but had COVID, had the heart condition, and because of being tested and having access to the doctors there in Atlanta, he was able to get diagnosed and treated. You know, that's what doesn't make any sense to me. It's like people are going, well, if these guys are out there practicing and playing football, they're going to get COVID. No, that's not the case. It's the other things they're doing. They're safer in a bubble. Like Mac Brown said, and God knows I don't want to give Mac Brown any credit for anything, but like Mac Brown said, now that the undergrads are gone from UNC, his football team is safer because they're more or less in a bubble.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, the same thing could happen at East Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised in the next 24 hours or maybe by Monday if we take undergrad to all online.
The only thing I'd say about that, Kyle, is that there's, I mean, we talk about a lot the economic challenges for athletics. Well, there's some real economic challenges for the university as well. And, you know, you having to give that amount of money back, even prorated for a couple of weeks. I mean, right now the university cannot take, no university can take that. Maybe Chapel Hill can absorb that a little easier than ECU can. But I just, to me, that would be the last thing you'd want. You're going to have outbreaks. These people are on, you got 30,000 people on top of each other. You're going to have outbreaks. And I just, without sounding like I don't care about anybody's health, I just don't, you don't want to knee jerk every reaction. I was real pleased to see the article a couple days ago that ECU is going to stick with in-person classes. And from what I understand, professors have the option if they want to make their class an online class. So, I mean, that's the whole thing with this. Athletes can opt out. You know, kids could take classes online if they choose to, if they feel like it's the best thing for them. You know, I hope we're not knee jerk reacting. I'm not accusing anybody who's done that so far, but I'm talking more nationally in the consciousness of everybody. Are we kind of knee jerk reacting to a lot of this?
I agree with you, but NC State just did the same thing today. So they were taking their undergrad online. So I would imagine the pressure.
But they can afford it.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm just telling you the pressure's going to be mounting.
Yeah.
So what do you think strategy-wise? P-Man, I was going to say, what do you think strategy-wise? As we know that with football being canceled today, the good news, I think you said.
Football wasn't canceled. Don't say that, Dave.
No,
on the internet right now that think that. Football was paused.
No, with the very fact of the tip is paused, if you will, for right now. I meant for the next week, the next few days. What do you think, P-Man? That really doesn't hurt you so much when you know that. I know you said earlier today about the very fact that you're worried if it's August 29th when you had the Marshall game. Yeah. Thank God they moved it back to the 12th.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really concerned about this if you had a game in 9 days. But that's not the case. This is plenty of time for this to kind of, obviously run its course. And you have the opportunity to kind of isolate the people who did test positive that are affiliated with the program. I don't have the running tally or know the running tally off the top of my head. But I do think that you probably, we saw this happen at Clemson. We saw this happen at LSU way earlier, and it happened at places like UNC and Notre Dame and ECU. So, unfortunately, I think this does kind of run through the program, if you will, to a degree. It has to kind of run its course. You know, how many are of the kids they're testing, again, are asymptomatic? How severe are their symptoms? I mean, these are things we don't know. One would presume that there are no hopefully no lingering challenges medically for any of these kids, and that none of them are really displaying any symptoms outside of maybe feeling a little run down. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, 10 positive on the team right now. I read online that I don't know where this person got that number, but that now puts us at I want to say it was 38 is what this person said.
Yeah, and I mean, out of what, 120? I mean, that's it's about a third. So.
What would be the point of canceling a damn thing at this point if you already have 38 players have it? I mean, you're letting them practice. Keep going. The word is Monday is the goal.
Yeah.
Try to get back on the field. So hopefully that will happen. We'll see. But that's the word I'm getting is the goal is to be back practicing by Monday.
Yeah, and I think that's we've said it. The student athletes, the guys on the team are better off in many ways in being in that environment where there's accountability, where there is top medical care, and where there's a schedule than just being with the I mean, I don't know how you guys were. I know Dave was quite the party animal, but I mean, when I was in college, the worst thing that happened to me was being left to my own devices that first semester. And I looked at my grades at the end and I said, I kind of like it here. I need to buckle down a little bit, do a little studying if I'm going to stick around, beyond Christmas. So, these kids are, we call them kids because we're all old men now, but I mean, the kids that are students there are, they don't have the structure that the athletes have. And that's just, I'm not saying every single kid, I'm painting with broad strokes there, but I mean, that's just an environment that's conducive for spread. The bad part is the mingling between them. And again, it might be the Mac Brown thing. Maybe the best thing is to preserve football is not to require students to wear masks because it appears they don't want to do that. Let's just go to online classes and that'll maybe get us a football season going. Although I think that would be financially a big blow to the university.
One thing I want to ask you is one thing that comes to mind with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I'm not directing this to East Carolina, so I want to make that very clear. They always talk about there's these, like, I think there was a president of the Mountain West, one of the Mountain West schools, that said, I can't live with the fact, knowing on my watch, that one of these football players died, right? And I'm going, wait a minute, you don't care if they have concussions all the time. When you're talking about the well-being of the student athlete on a normal year, there's all kinds of things that happen which are unfortunate, and we don't stop football. So I don't understand why COVID, and that's one thing that is really gets to me, is the very fact that if we're going to be fair, let's be fair and say that, the health, if you really care about the health, then care about the health all the time and not just because it's a sexy topic of COVID-19.
I was waiting for Bubba to chime in. I thought Bubba was going to chime in there.
I was going to chime in regarding something else in just a moment. I didn't want to get away from this topic.
Go back to watching the ball game, Bubba. In all seriousness, accidents can happen here. A little self-serving here, boys, and a little good vibes and prayers. My beautiful wife, who is way out of my league. We were getting ready to leave the beach house yesterday, and that's where I am. I'm at the Working Man's Beach, Casa de Johnson, because my wife is laid up. She slipped going down the stairs in the house. Total accident. I mean, I was scared to death. I thought
pushed his wife. Dateline, the future Dateline episode, right? It's
a Peterson situation, but I was terrified, scared to death. She's got more coordinated and a better athlete than I ever dreamed of being. So, I mean, the point is, anything can happen anytime, Dave. I mean, in that sport that is inherently violent, you could have a hit that could end someone's career. Even in basketball, and it scares me to death with guys with their knees, even though they're in better shape. Anytime you see somebody twist an ankle or a knee or something, you get terrified because, I mean, that guy, that basketball player, male or female, could have had their whole career, everything they've worked for, totally ended. So I mean, there's inherent risk in everything. There's inherent risk in football because it's a violent collision sport. And I'm like you, to kind of come in there and play this up in the manner in which they're doing, to me is I'm like you, it can be perceived as a little bit disingenuous, perhaps.
There is definite danger in canceling the football season in East Carolina.
Well, anywhere.
Danger.
Are you going to rough someone up, Kyle?
I'm telling you right now. If there's no college football, people better do something, because I'm going to need to be heavily sedated because I can't handle it.
You call Tony Soprano.
Here's what blows my mind, and I mean, I'd love to get your guys' take on this. there was all these naysayers in the media nationally, almost in a sense rooting. I don't know if rooting to be right. They don't like football to begin with. I mean, we could do a whole show on that. And now that the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12, and the newest member of the P5, the American, are moving forward with football and are determined to do so smartly and in a safe manner and with a lot of thought and consideration, at least from the American standpoint. Now you ask them, I mean, I asked one of the guys from Sports Illustrated the other day, what's the chance percentage-wise we're going to have a season? And they're like, well, 90% it's going to start now, but 10% it's like they have to be right that there's not going to be any college football. And to me, I think ECU's been the great test market in this, the first to scrimmage. Now, it'd be interesting to learn, do we think these case numbers went up because of the mingling with the general population? I would believe that's the case and has less to do with the guys scrimmaging and playing with one another. And I see Kyle shaking his head, so I know I'm right.
I mean, it just makes common sense. I mean,
yeah, well, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, those guys are being tested. I mean, if my guess it has a lot to do with them scrimmaging with young ladies after football practice is over. So that would be my guess. But
just another memory from college I really never got to live. So yeah.
I mean, just think about it. I mean, it just makes sense. But they're going to be social in more than one way, and I mean, that would be my biggest concern. If I was Mike Houston, to quote Mike Leach, I'd want to be swabbing their little fat girlfriends.
Wow. Well, you said it. I didn't for sure on that one. In fact, East Carolina's got beautiful women, so I don't think they fall in that category. Go to Greenville and you'll find that out.
Now, Kyle, something you said a moment ago when you said let them practice. This isn't what you were referring to necessarily, but it's a topic that's come up here in the last couple of days. The NCAA is going to allow teams that are not playing, so Big Ten, Pac-12, Mountain West, the MAC, they're going to allow them to practice 12 hours per week this fall. So I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that.
Stupid! If you're going to be practicing 12 hours per week, why aren't you playing? What is the difference?
Here's what makes even less sense. And now I know why the FCS is doing this because of the finances, but I mean, we can't have a season, but it's fine if the Big South teams go play 4 money games this fall. I mean, again, it makes no sense the way that a lot of these decisions are being made.
Well, I think what happened there, to make sense of that, Patrick, is the majority of the FCS conferences, like the Colonial and the what's the other big one in the FCS? Bubba, help me out.
The Big Sky.
The Big Sky. When the Colonial and the Big Sky said no season, we're not playing at all, then basically at that point, all the other FCS conferences had to cancel.
Right.
And I think the SoCon and Big South wanted to play, but there was no point to it at that point. So they said, hey, if you guys want to play 4 non-conference games, we're going to try to have a conference.
Right, no, I understand, the logic and the reasoning, but again, it just shows the hypocrisy.
Oh yeah,
in these decisions that are being made, and it speaks to all right, well, you can practice 12 hours a week, and you guys can still hang out at the football facility, but as far as playing games, we can't do that. We're going to have a guy on my show tomorrow, 5:00 on 94.3 The Game. That is a guy named Austin Karp, Sports Business Journal, and he talks a lot about the media deals and all that. I'm anxious to talk to him tomorrow about, how much financially is this and could this hurt the Big Ten, which has had the most successful payout historically and over the long run, money. But the Pac-12 network has never really got the footing that the Big Ten network or even the SEC network has gotten. So, I'm anxious to how the money's going to hurt those institutions.
About $50 million per year per school.
Yeah, but I mean, but if they play in the spring, do they still get that? I mean, that's not what everybody signed up for. Nobody signed up for spring football.
And
now,
in terms of their television network, the Big Ten network, it'll depend on advertisement revenue.
Yeah.
But what does ESPN give them? I don't know. My guess is ESPN and Fox, on Big Ten rights, and the Big Ten is something you kind of want to keep the rights to. So they probably got more negotiating legs to get a large percentage of that money in the spring. They're not going to get it all because they're not going to play as many games. 8 games, ain't 12 games.
Yeah, and again, I'll be anxious to hear if this is going to have any impact. And then, you got the NFL also lurking there in the background, ready to pounce on any of these open TV dates on the networks on Saturdays. So I've been kind of bullish. I'm in the same boat as Clay Travis, Rini Angolia, Roy Philpott, Phil Steele. I know a lot of those guys have been on your guys' show. They're on our show. In that, there's going to be a college football season. I feel good about that. And I feel good about the fact that a lot of it has been pushed back into September. I'm fine with that. I'm bullish. I feel like they can still play even after today's setback, and I hope they will, because it is really important, for everybody in the Greenville community. But I think in a lot of these communities, it's an important deal, and at a time where we could use a little bit of good vibes and feeling good about everything. And I think there's nothing more American than college football, boys.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a statement that needs to be made based on some things I'm hearing about John Gilbert. And let me preface this with saying I like John Gilbert as a person, but John may not be as big on playing the season as some people. If the ACC schools, North Carolina State, Wake Forest, and Duke, Appalachian State, and Charlotte play football, and East Carolina's not out there playing football, I don't care what the American does. If we have to play an independent schedule, you are giving East Carolina football a death penalty. It's a self-imposed death penalty if the rest of the schools in this state play football. Under no circumstances, I don't give a damn what the American does. East Carolina's got to play a football season. Even if we have to put together an independent schedule, if the rest of the schools in this state at the FBS level are playing football, it is imperative. It is a necessity. It shouldn't even be a thought. The thought should be, we are going to play. We are going to do what we have to do to play at all costs. If it's 0 fans, 10 fans, or 10,000 fans. And that should be the thought process of our administration going forward. And if it is not, they don't need to be there.
Well, here's one thing, Patrick. The one thing that concerns me is the very fact of we heard today one of our conference mates, USF, schedules a game with Notre Dame when, that's what worries me is I'm hearing, I don't know if you have PJ, but I'm hearing that we don't have the money to pay for a FCS game for like Labor Day or any other time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the reason. I had heard from some sources a while back that in an ideal scenario, Coach Houston would have liked to have had that tune-up on Labor Day. And I'm sure you guys are hearing a lot of the same thing. So for sure, I think in an ideal scenario, but I mean, here's the reality, and just it is what it is. The reality is what it is. Monetarily, if you can't do it, you can't do it. And I'd just as soon not schedule that FCS game and not play it for whatever the reason is, especially if it's going to not be a ticket. Everybody talked about they wanted Appalachian State to be somebody that ECU added. Let's play Appalachian State in 2020 when all this kind of started at the beginning and all the fans were giddy about it and talking about it on the Twitters and what have you. There's no point in playing App State this year. It's not advantageous for either side because that's a ticket sale situation. That's a money gate situation for everybody involved. And so it made no sense to me to try to play that game this year. I'd rather you try to play maybe a Campbell out of the Big South that could make that day trip. At the time, Elon, which that's kind of by the board now. But someone in that vein that could have made a day trip would be ideal. I mean, what are you talking on a payout for an FCS probably? 350?
Yeah, 350,000 is my understanding.
Yeah.
You could probably get Campbell for less than that because travel.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'd be interested what App paid them. If we're in such bad shape that App can afford Campbell and we can't, if we're in that bad of shape, go get a payday. South Florida just got a payday from Notre Dame. There's a few of them out there. Go play BYU. BYU's through their home schedule.
I think that brings up a pretty interesting, long-term thing. There's the Michigan date in the future payday game. There was the payday game a couple years ago in Florida the year after playing them in the bowl. Yeah, I haven't. I'm sure Mike Houston doesn't necessarily want to schedule a bunch of those type of games, but the thing is this: I think if there's a guy who's going to get this program back to anytime, anywhere that this program had its mentality and its DNA at one time, I think Mike Houston's the guy to do that. And what a way to to bring in even better recruits than you've already brought in. What a way to, you guys speak to a national guest list. I mean, there's a lot of respect nationally for ECU. And I think in order to regain that kind of rightful spot, it makes total sense to go take some of those games, heal yourself up a little bit financially, and you're gonna knock off one or two down the road and start to make a name for yourself. Those games are going to get a little harder to schedule, probably.
Yeah, and I agree with, I wouldn't do one every year. If you want to do one every 2 years for the near future, that's fine. I thought this year would have been a chance to do that if we can't afford an FCS opponent. We go get a payday. There's a couple of Florida State, last I checked, still was looking for a home game for their one non-conference game. That may have been filled. Last I checked, they were still looking.
It was filled today. Yeah, it was filled today. I'm trying to think. It was Jack. It's matter of fact, I believe it's PJ. You know them. I believe it was Jacksonville State, or it's somewhere in Florida. My memory serves me right.
In Alabama.
Maybe Jacksonville. I hear what you're saying. Though. Somebody like that.
One thing I was thinking of, and it was discussed on Hoist the Colors. Well, if you can't have, you don't want to pay an FCS, okay. You don't want to go get a payday, okay. If you can't have any fans September 5th, Labor Day weekend, no fans in the state because we're in phase 2, okay, cool. Go to Campbell. I guarantee you Campbell would love the novelty of hosting East Carolina. If we're not having any fans, then it doesn't make any difference. Go to Campbell, play in an empty stadium. You don't have to pay them. They don't have to pay us. You can be back home by dinner time, bench your starters for halftime.
Right. Well, I think the idea is there's going to be a proposal submitted, kind of like NASCAR did, ill-fated as it was, the Republican convention did. Others have done to try to get, okay, here's our plan. Here's our social distancing plan. Can we let in 10,000, 5,000 people? I don't know the number, but, a percentage. I think that's because then there are some ticket sales involved. You're not having to refund some ticket money. I mean, the novelty of what you're talking about would be pretty cool. I also like the idea that Austin Cox and I bannered about a little bit. The guy that hosts the AAC Daily Show. Mike Oresco, go to the ESPN and say, look.
The other things BYU's in the Pac-12.
What's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
He thinks BYU's in the Pac-12. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Well, he is from Cincinnati, so let's not hold that against him. All right. But I mean, I like this idea. He's kicked it around. The big hen, Henry Hinton's kicked it around. I think it's a great idea. Mike Oresco, go to ESPN and say, look, I'll guarantee you football if you give each one of our schools an extra $5 million this year. Why not? I mean, nothing should be off the table at this point.
Worth a shot.
Yeah, nothing should be off the table at this point. I mean, I know they're handling a lot of things, and I know today was a hectic day around 4:30, 5 o'clock for everybody. But I'm telling you, you got to think outside the box here. You got to be a creative thinker in this era if you're in the American or if you're ECU. And to me, as long as I think you have that kind of juice going, that kind of thought going, nothing should be off the table. Especially if you're determined to play. And I think Mike Oresco is determined to play. He's going to hang in there till Alabama cancels probably, So, I mean, I think that's the mentality I think you should have. I mean, there has to be a lot more evidence on the table, scientifically to just blow up this whole thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Patrick,
when you say the proposal's coming, Patrick, to allow a certain amount of fans in to Governor Cooper. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's coming from each individual school, or are we going to submit it as a group? Because I think
what I think, the impression I got, and that was from when John Gilbert was on with Henry on Talk of the Town a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about it during that interview. So my impression from that was, and from what I understand in talking to someone else, is that's an individual entity school type of thing. Now, is there any collaboration among Bubba Cunningham and Boo and whoever? And I'm sure there is. I'm sure everybody's kind of making sure that the same sort of thing would be submitted. Now, I have it on very good authority. Cunningham wants to play the season. I mean, this is as of a week or so ago. He wants to play the season. They can live without the fans in the stands. God knows they've done it for years until the return of the MAC. State relies on that ticket sale still. Obviously we do, and App does. I think there's going to be enough of similarities in that proposal. Speculative here, guys, but I think there's enough discussion among athletic directors in the state. It's no coincidence that all of them are forging ahead with their respective decisions to play. And I'm sure there's some collaborative effort. Kyle, I don't know, how much they're talking. They're not having this, wonderful video conference every day. I don't think like we are right now, but
They should be.
They should be. But I do think that it is going to be submitted. I guess what I'm reading into what you were saying here is if UNC or state are not involved, it might be fruitless endeavor for ECU. But I tend not to think so. I hope there's a reason September 11th or 10th or whatever it was the date. Everybody's starting up football the next day, so maybe there'll be some indication that there could be limited fans. It's a joke. We all have made it. We all have thought it. There's some of those crowds would have qualified for the 5% the last few years in the Scotty Moe era. There's no two ways. There's no two ways about that. I've been in that. There's been a 5% total there, and for some of those games over the last few years. So I think we got it. We know how to handle a crowd like that.
And something else too. If there's no crowd for Marshall, September 12th, that doesn't mean we're not going to have a crowd.
Exactly.
For Tulane or whoever in October, and so we need to proceed, even if we're told no crowd September 12th, play without fans, and then hopefully by midseason we will be at 20 or 30%, or who knows, 50%.
Yeah.
That would be and after the Mo era, that would be fantastic. I remember, Patrick, you've given me memories that November game against Tulane. Honest to God, there were more fans at that playoff game with Holton Ahlers and D.H. Conley than there were.
There's more people in this box right now than there were at that game. There's more people in this screen thing I'm looking at than were at that game. That brings up an interesting point, and I'd love to get your guys' take on this. Let's be Pollyanna, as Dave Richmond and I are here on all of this. Let's assume that the governor decides to quit playing politics. Yes, I said it. And let's say he decides to let fans into the stands on the 12th at limited numbers, which I'm all in support of here. I don't know what the number would be, but do you think that people would show it? Do you think if it's 10,000 people would be there?
Yeah. If it's 10,000, yeah. If it's 30,000, no, that's not going to be 30,000. But yeah,
I guess what I'm saying is the appetite's so great, that people will show up.
Hey man, I think there's going to be. My question is another thing that we haven't heard from, even from John Gilbert on, is as far as tailgating is concerned. I think if we have 12,700, if it's 25,000, like Bubba said, 25%, which would be 12,000, like 700, right, Bubba? Then tailgate, there could be a chance there's more people tailgating than in the stadium. That's crazy.
Bubba's on Twitter or something right now.
Yeah,
Bubba heard nothing you said there. You could have told Bubba, somebody was behind him with a bat about to take it at him, and he.
No, I heard what he said. In the 25% capacity, 12-7.
There will be no fans tailgating.
But wait a minute now.
Gilbert said there would be.
Gilbert told me or told us, there's so many of these damn things now. I don't know what's going on half the time. I can't remember when, but I do remember him saying that they had it where it was at the current numbers. They could space it out at like 20%, and where people could tailgate. So
but that's what my point is. That was my point.
There will be no tailgate.
Kyle, that was my point. That was my very point, is that there's going to be massive amounts of people tailgating, right? And then you have where we basically they don't have single game tickets, which means the only people they're going to allow in the stadium is if you buy the season tickets, which would be right now around 12,700. Right? We have 13,000 season tickets.
I can guarantee you this: if the governor allows us to play football, there will be. We're
going to have football.
There will be allows fans. There will be these caveats. There will be no alcohol sold. There will be no tailgating on campus, and you will have to wear a mask. If those three things don't happen, I'll kiss your ass. I guarantee you those three caveats will be a part of fans being allowed to attend. No tailgating.
I say, all right. Well, okay. No, I was going to say no tailgating if it's on campus, but then Elmhurst becomes campus kind of.
I mean, they're probably going to be even more.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Have drunk people.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of houses around that neighborhood there.
I guess that's different.
That's a different story. Yeah. I could see. You know what, Kai? I actually could see everything you just said. Possibly being, definitely being, kind of the rules and regulations.
That's the information Alabama just released. So if Alabama is doing it, I guarantee you.
Hey. Yeah, but what do you do at a Panthers game?
I don't go.
Well, that's true. Yeah, wild horses couldn't drag me to Charlotte, but I'm just saying, because that's not the greatest tailgate environment on earth, but I mean it's, they have little coves and nooks you can pay $90 or your gas bill for the month and park there.
There may be tailgating anyway, because just because something is told to you doesn't mean it's enforced. I mean, there could be a lot of, hey, no tailgating, and then they just turn a blind eye to it as long as you ain't out there with a big pig cooker smoking a hog. If you're out there with a cooler and a cheese platter, they're probably not going to say much.
And Bubba, if you can put that up on the screen, Bubba Grant, who I don't know if you know Patrick, his sister is Beth Grant of the great actress. He's asking, how do you social distance at a club level?
You don't. Well, I guess you don't. I mean, are you talking about, the one on the upper deck side?
Yeah, that's the one he's talking about.
It's kind of a wide open. I mean, you don't. Yeah, I guess you'd have to. I don't know how you do that. Yeah, you limit capacity in there.
Right. You can.
That's the only way. And I mean, the new tower, the Town Bank Tower, did take a goodly amount of people from that level, and so there wasn't as many in there last year as there had been in prior years. So, Bubba, what have they found you, Bubba? What's going on now?
Apparently,
what is going on here?
Yeah, P-Man, they're putting the spotlight on me. But a moment ago, Kyle created a nice segue for me. He's talking about tailgating and the announcement that Alabama made. And yes, P-Man, I was scrolling Twitter.
I knew it.
Shots were fired by the Mississippi governor, Tate Reeves. Took a shot at the Big Ten and the Pac-12. He said he was talking about masks will be worn when you're walking around the stadium, entering or exiting. And then also he said, I know this will not be popular, but there will be no game day social gatherings around stadiums, rallies, parties, tailgates. It's no fun, but it's what allows the athletes to play. I'd still rather be in the SEC with no tailgates than the Pac-12 or Big Ten with no football.
So that's coming from the state of Mississippi saying no tailgating. So I can hear.
By the way,
Governor Cooper.
Is the name Tate Reeves for a Mississippi governor out of Central Casting or what? Is that not the? Can't you picture that guy was tweeting that in Seersucker? Can't you guys just imagine that right now?
Matlock, yeah.
Hey, there is something I'm curious about, and I proposed this question to who the hell was I talking to? Lee Workman. If East Carolina still has undergrads in class by September 12th, well, isn't Dowdy Ficklen Stadium a part of campus? Students are allowed on campus.
Well, but everything they've said is they want the students to be allowed into the game. That's been the one consistent.
Yeah.
Who knows how that changes after today? But they want students to have access to go to the games. That's the one consistent. Even ahead of in some case, I've even heard the banter about if we can't have season ticket holders, we at least want to have students at the at the game.
I mean, does that even require a special provision? I mean, if students aren't is there certain parts of campus they can't go on right now? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking seriously.
Well, they can. They can. Yeah, they still can. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
they're not banned. They're not banned from the campus. They're not banned from the campus.
Well, I know what right now. You're misunderstanding the question. Right now at East Carolina, all students are in school. Right. What I'm saying is there any parts of campus they can't go to? Can they use the movie theater right now? Can 100 people go in the movie theater at the student center?
That I don't know. I know what you're asking. I just don't. I mean,
because if that's the case, why couldn't students go to the football game?
Well, they are having a hard time with the mask wearing, apparently, according to anecdotal evidence. So that would be the big strike against them at this point. That would be my question. But I'm sure, there's certain places like anywhere that are off limits. Just because your town's open doesn't mean that,
Right. But if you're sitting beside the quarterback in class, why can't you go sit at the game?
Well, I think that's not been the question. I think they've pretty much said the students would go. Now, if they go to all online classes, let me think this through. I mean, there's still going to be people. I don't know if they'll be living on campus, but there'll certainly be students still living in apartments and houses in the town.
I haven't heard.
That was going on all summer.
I haven't heard at all that students would be allowed at the games for sure. So that's what I'm asking.
Well, I'm just saying that has been the one consistent. That to me, anytime they mention crowd stuff, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave and Bubba, they've always said, hey, we're going to, students, we want to allow students, the season ticket holders and all of that. Students are always mentioned prominently in that. So I would assume, as long as you're enrolled there and a student, even if, you're taking your, classes in Raleigh and you want to drive down to the football game, I presume you'd be able to.
Hey, Kyle, I have a question for you directly.
I have many questions for
PJ. Bubba and I've been trying to get Kyle and Town Bank Tower. Now, if they say there's no fans, okay,
right,
no fans, and the media can go,
yes,
and that you have to sit in Town Bank Tower, will that finally break your 2-year streak of not being in the tower? Because PJ could tell you it's a nice place. You have
it's beautiful. It's
you have
look,
the food.
It's not the double wide in the sky. It's a palace. Actually, to me, is the nicest one of any I've been in the state so far. I think it's state of the art, quite obviously.
It's too nice. That's part of the problem. But that's why we're in
Wait a minute. What do you want? Do you want that eyesore that was up there that had no air conditioning?
I want to use common sense. You can't make very little money off of. You don't put a lot of money on something you can make very little money off of. You could have built that for $10 million versus $20 million.
I don't think you could have built it for $10 million, but I mean, there's no way you would have made it.
Go talk to my friends at Arkansas State.
But wait a minute. I'd rather we aim for Arkansas than Arkansas State, where John Thompson was the head coach on 8 different occasions for bowl games. Yeah, well, good Lord. We can't aim towards that, Kyle. Come on.
Yeah. Well, get back to
$10 million.
Get back to when we got Arkansas's money.
That $10 million box was built on the sweat of the brow of John Thompson, toiling away for his one time a year as a head coach in the bowl game.
Check the different head coaches they've had, and why he coach a lot. But they
will not have you besmirch the good name of the great bowl coach at Arkansas State history, John Thompson.
The question was, will I go to Town Bank Tower? I don't fit into Town Bank Tower. Maybe if I could just hang out with Meador.
What about us? What about us?
You guys, of course. But keeping my opinion to myself and sitting up there, you're supposed to wear. And I know people don't do it half the time. You're supposed to be neutral and not wear East Carolina apparel and not cheer.
Well, now, wait a minute. Who told you that lie? Because
Dave, Mr. Richmond.
That's what you're supposed to do. So,
well, it probably ain't the place for me.
Now, wait a minute. Are you talking about him just kind of being up there, or are you talking about him sitting on press row? What are you talking about here? I mean, where are we talking about him going? Because I mean, he could sit in a box, couldn't he?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm saying.
I got a press pass just like you do.
But wait a minute. What I'm asking is, where are you talking about sitting? Because you could go and sit in the box. And where
I can fit anywhere. What I'm saying is I don't fit in up there. I need to be amongst the people, baby. There's going to be no people, but I need to be amongst the people.
But that's one point. If the only way you can get it,
I need to be looking up at the people behind me saying, "Get up!" I need to be. I need to be out there helping.
That's my point. That's my whole point. If they say we're not, you can't. My point is you can't sit in the stands. If they say that, what I'm saying, if you can't sit in the stands, would you go? And at least that way you would be able to attend the game.
Me and Bubba had this discussion. Bubba said this will be the only way he will ever sit in Town Bank Tower is because if there's no fans, he'll go. I have no desire to go. I have no desire to go sit in Town Bank Tower with a bunch of members of media to watch the football game. I'd be much happier sitting at home in my recliner watching the game on TV.
All right,
if
wait a minute.
In the stands amongst my people, I don't want to be there.
If nobody is allowed in the stands, yet you could go in and sit in a box.
No.
Where they would have.
That. Oh my God!
I can't encourage the team. I can't.
From the box you can.
The box you can. It's just the press box area.
Not the press box on press row. You can't. But you could encourage now. If you remember, if the Marshall media contingent, you could cheer your head off if you wanted to. I think that's encouraging. Or in Keenan Stadium.
We're gonna have the windows are gonna be open. We're gonna yell down at the team.
No, the windows don't open. That's the one thing that doesn't happen in there. Okay, and I actually didn't. I like that. I didn't think it was that bad.
I would be socializing with Mike Hamrick the entire time.
What if we got you? You could sit in the box with Hambone during the game. Would you consider doing that?
I like Hamrick. Some of the recent East Carolina ADs. I'd rather sit with Mike Hamrick all day than even have a glass of water or beer or whatever with Jeff Confer. I mean, so
all right. No, I hear you.
I'll take the seasick crocodile. But you know what I mean? So I that's a Grinch reference, by the way. But I don't really have a problem with Hamrick. I didn't like the way Hamrick fired Logan.
Right.
We want to get back in the weeds. I mean,
and Dooley.
I think Hamrick's a better AD now than he was then. If you look at Marshall's home schedule this year prior to COVID, they had Pittsburgh coming to Marshall, they had Boise State coming to Marshall, and after they lost those games, they added Appalachian State, which is a good home game for Marshall. So I think he's a better AD now than he was then. I hate that him and Logan had such problems, but he did some good things while he was at East Carolina. He did some bad things too. But looking back at everything and some of the crap that's happened here since then, Hamrick wasn't all bad. And Hamrick didn't hire John Thompson. That was that idiot, the cheerleader at the time. What was his name?
Steve Ballard?
No, not Ballard. Ballard
was that Bill Muse? Was that a Bill Muse?
William Muse.
Yeah,
William hired John Thompson.
Let me just.
He wanted to hire Doc Holliday.
He did exactly. We ended up hiring at Marshall.
Let me say, man, you bring up Bill Muse. A segue here, boys, which has nothing to do with ECU, but if you'll indulge me for a moment, as I give a shout out to a good friend who died Monday, Philip Horn. Who was a great Greenvillian guy, just a great overall guy. I don't know how well you guys know him, if you knew him at all, but he was a big supporter of ECU, big PJ supporter, which is always good. And back in the good old days of the former chancellor bit, which was patterned after the aforementioned Bill Muse, Philip voiced and wrote all of those skits. Oh. So that's now coming out as public knowledge. We held that secret for a number of years. But it was just devastating to learn that news. And as you brought up Bill Muse, that was just some funny stuff, some vintage classic funny stuff of the former chancellor based on Bill Muse, who famously called it Eastern Carolina University.
Yeah, he was an idiot.
And Philip portrayed that very well on the radio.
Yeah,
so that was good stuff. But thank you for indulging me and letting me give that little shout out there.
No,
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know him personally, but I knew that he was great for the Pirates. And I know Henry put that on his Facebook page, which I was sad to read anytime we lose a great Pirate for sure. One thing I want to talk about earlier, and I failed to mention, PJ, was the very fact of with the Big 12 and the Pac-12, with them out of the picture, don't you think this, I know we were talking about Oresco, don't you think this is a perfect opportunity for us to position ourselves nicely at some point for a P League? I already think that we're a P League anyway, Power League.
No, yeah, I do actually. I'm joking. Yes, I do. I mean, I think it's right there. I really think the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, more so the Pac-12, is going to have some problems after this. I think the level of its play and its balance and its autonomy is going to take a real hit here. And, Oregon's not quite what they were a few years ago. I mean, Utah's pretty good, but, really, Oregon did some big things. It's got to be USC out of that league. That's kind of the Alabama of the West Coast, in a sense. And to me, if USC's not good, the tide of that league, all boats rise with the tide of USC. in my opinion. I think there's going to be some real problems. I mean, California's got some real issues right now beyond football and beyond sports about just the situation of how things are being handled there and what's closed down still and what's going to be closed down still and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I think there is a great opportunity. I really like Mike Oresco's demeanor. I like the fact that he knows the lingo for television, and that's really what the P5 stuff is all about, is becoming a TV draw. I think the league is a TV draw. And, boy, let's get the season started. Let's get a few American games in prime time. Let's score some big numbers, ever how those numbers come about, if it's the appetite being satisfied because people want to see football. But let's take those big numbers and tell that story and brag about it a little bit. Look, Phil Steele's put UCF, and look, nobody hates UCF more than I do, but he's put UCF in his Final Four championship now. And I mean, that to me, Dave, is more important towards the league getting to that status. If UCF, asterisk or not, made up title a few years ago or not, if they can, that's worse than the bread title in Chapel Hill for basketball. But if barely worse. But if they can get in there, we could have that representation. I mean, Cincinnati, I don't think you've got a more workmanlike program than Cincinnati. I mean, that's a great program. Memphis, I think, will continue to be a really good and strong program. There's some great football being played in the league. And I mean, it's a basketball league in a lot of ways too. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stories to be told out of the American this year if we could just have football.
No, you're right. And you make a couple of good points there, that it's the opportunity to get more games in prime time. And if the ratings are good, you can leverage that perhaps into more money down the road. And you're right, with a UCF, and I've talked about this, let's say they go undefeated again, and you're going to have a real conversation with only 6 leagues playing. If they go undefeated, there's going to have to be a real conversation about them getting to the playoff. So there's some stories that could be told, and which you may take as a hit for playing with a limited amount of fans or even no fans this year, you could turn into more money down the road.
No, I agree. And, the other thing too is, even though it's not $40 or $50 million, let's face it, guys, the money by having a season this season will help everybody in the American and ECU. I really, and I know it's the good pirate and everybody says it, but I mean, I truly feel very good about Mike Houston and the direction of football. Joe Dooley, it's just a matter of time before that program has won. You guys were talking earlier about, going to Omaha and the next bowl game. I'm excited about the first NCAA tournament appearance in 20 some odd years. That's how optimistic I am. Because I think, once it's gonna be hard to hold on to Joe Dooley when, if he wins at ECU, it's gonna be difficult Joe's respected and got a pedigree and is well known and is a hell of a basketball coach. So, I mean, it's, we've said it before. I'm sure you guys have said it. If you look at the 3 coaches now of the big three sports, you probably have, it's not, you don't have the up and comer, even though they all Mike Houston kind of is in a sense, or the guy Cliff is, or you don't have the kind of has been, or, a guy that's past his prime or girl that's past her prime. You have 3 guys, I think, that are right at the beginning or right in the midst of their primes. And what a great time to have those people. I felt really good about, and still do, about football. I feel really good about where the football season could head. I think having Blake Harrell, I like Bob Trott a lot. But I think what Blake Harrell has done is very interesting. I mean, he's putting the scheme, the athletes in the scheme fit. And I don't think that was the case last year. So I think there's a real opportunity to see this team do some things that are going to be kind of special.
It's going to be interesting about Blake Harrell's defense is he likes to rotate a lot of guys in on the D line, and we got some bodies there, a lot of young bodies, but we do have a lot of bodies there. And sometimes that could be a good approach, particularly if you do lack some seasoned talent. If you can keep guys fresh, if you can play a lot of guys on that D line, lots of times, a fresh guy, a fresh body is better than last year we were playing the same guys pretty much the whole game on that D line. So even if he's young and inexperienced, if you can get a fresh body in there in the fourth quarter, that can be a big difference.
Yeah.
No doubt. Hey, Bubba, I know you got a couple questions. And P-Man, I know you're on vacation, so we'll let you go here in a few minutes. Bubba, you wanted to?
No, this is fine. My wife's watching TikTok. She's got her leg on ice and watching TikTok. I'm in the best place I could be right now. So
okay, all right.
First of all, what you were saying, Patrick, regarding Phil Steele and that projection of UCF, if we play football being in the college football playoff, no doubt about that. As far as what it could do for the league, and like you said, asterisk or not, if they play in Alabama or someone like that, and they were to beat them, they're dealing with the same type of stuff. So that would be.
Could you imagine those yahoos if they actually won a title instead of made one up? Could you imagine what would happen then?
Hey, that was recognized by the NCAA.
I know, but I mean, look, it's no bread title, it's no bread championship from the 20s.
Well, they found it on the books. They claimed it, and then they found an old the Collie Matrix.
BCS.
The Collie Matrix.
The Collie Matrix is part of the BCS.
The BCS.
That sounds like a diet I was on once. The Collie Matrix.
Listen, the Collie Matrix is part of the BCS formula. When they dissolved the BCS, the NCAA forgot to take the Collie Matrix out of the recognized national champions.
Look, if you forget to remove the Collie Matrix, I think we all know how painful that can be.
They finished number one according to the Collie Matrix. So if you look it up, there was technically co-national champions that year.
Okay, I got you.
Appreciate Alan Vick tuning in. Had a comment for you guys there.
Yeah, AB.
Alan, you're going to run out of ink. There's so much good stuff to write down here. You're going to run out of ink in your Bic.
But Patrick, as we start to wrap this up, just generally speaking, in the sports
I'm just getting started.
Yeah. We'll go all night then. But with everything that's going on in the sports that are being played, obviously HV3 is playing some excellent golf.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? And then, are you watching any baseball or
I'll watch
NBA? What are you watching?
Yeah, I'll watch the Cubs if they're on nationally. I used to be the biggest baseball fan growing up, and I still like it. I don't probably go out of my way to watch as many games as I should or could. I get caught up on Sunday nights. I like to have a little, decompress and watch, some real. Heady stuff on one of the premium cable or just some total trash television on TLC or 90 Day Fiance or something like that. Sundays I kind of have to decompress a little before the week starts. So I spend my time kind of doing that. I really have not watched a whole lot of NBA, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is. It just hasn't really, it's on. I'm aware of it. I've actually enjoyed, even though the Canes got bounced the other night, I was enjoying those games a lot more than, and the hockey a lot more than any basketball. I've watched a lot of golf. I watch a lot of golf, much to my wife's chagrin. That's kind of my lead into my Sunday evening viewing with her. Is I'll always watch the last, few hours of the golf tournament on CBS or whatever. Harold's hitting the ball well. Harold's putting himself in a spot to get birdies. It's just the putters kind of left him a little bit here. And, I think the issue with Harold is, can he put it all? I mean, look what he did at the PGA. He had a very good start to the Thursday round. Then he kind of leaked oil at the end, got off out of the gate slowly on Friday, but then kind of manned up. I mean, that was a big boy round to go 4 under and get into the weekend. And, I think if Harold can do that tomorrow afternoon, especially if you're right on the cut line, is always tough for a lot of reasons. But, I think what little bit I know about this course in Boston, you could score low numbers on it. the rough is not, grown out all crazy and shaggy like my new hairdo. It's an absolute, opportunity to score. So, I mean, if Harold can get on a birdie run, I think he's got to get to 2 or 3 under to be safe and secure and get into the weekend. That's his goal right now. It's got to be do what you got to do to get into the weekend and then try to get into the top 25 so you can move on next week.
Patrick, I had a follow-up before we end this, and I follow-ups on a follow-up to anything.
Yes.
You grew up in Kinston. How old are you, Patrick?
Depends on the night and the woman. No, that's an old talk of the town joke from back in the day. I'll say it here. I don't ever admit my age publicly, but I'm 43. I'm 43. So, but I don't look like it. I know. Clean living and perseverance, boys.
That fat don't crack. But what I was going to say, a couple things. Being obviously Kyle from LaGrange, not really from LaGrange.
Right.
Jason.
Well, technically Jason, yes. But I'm from Williamson originally, but I live in the greater LaGrange area. So obviously work in Kinston.
The Wayne County LaGrange or the Lenore County LaGrange?
I actually live in Greene County LaGrange. I'm adjacent. If you know your area.
I know Greene County. Trust me, I've spent many an evening in Greene County.
I'm on 903 in between. All
right.
Snow Hill. It kind of going towards Goldsboro too. Anyway, it has nothing to do with anything. Going to ask you, what high school did you go to in Lenore County?
I went all 13 years of school to Parrott Academy. My dad was I'm filthy rich. I just do this for ha-has. No, my dad was the AD there for 20 years.
Okay.
My parents sent me to kindergarten there. And then my dad got a job there, and that allowed us, bye, Bubba, that allowed us to, be there for the amount of time that we were. And it was great. I actually was a horrible student. I couldn't have been any worse of a student. Like right there in the meaty part of the, C range type of thing. I couldn't have gotten into ECU today if my life depended on it, based on my high school academia performance. Well, welcome back, Bubba. It's nice of you to rejoin us. But point being that because of that experience growing up, and even though I was a horrible student, I actually did fairly well in college, minus that first semester, because I was pretty well prepared. It was not that the stuff was easy, but it wasn't any harder than what I'd studied at the academy.
Okay, I got some Kinston questions for you. That's where I was leading into.
Sure. No, okay.
All right. Okay, first question. You grew up in Kinston, Vernon Park Mall. I'm sure you went to and hung out at.
Yes.
Were you a Stacey's fan as a teenager?
I was not a big Stacey's fan, although they put the egg in the milkshake. I was more of Team Billy's over on the that's where we'd always go for off-campus lunch, home of the big boy. No, it was I mean, that was fine, but it really wasn't my jam, as the youngsters like to say.
All right. We always I lived here. My wife was in North Lenore. I came here as a teenager, so we hung out at Stacey's a lot. Okay,
I got you.
Another question for you. Unfortunately, one of these is kind of sort of still around, but not really. The other one doesn't exist at all. House of Wong or China King?
Now, again, because of my time at the academy, I went to the. I was a House of Wong. I was a House of Wong, and now look, and look, I like Calvin very much at China King, and I dined at China King. I didn't turn my nose up. I always was. Very good to see you, my very good friend. And he'd remember your name. You tell him once or twice, he'd remember your name, which is great. But I was I was Team House of Wong. I know the guy who reopened it now under its current incarnation.
Okay. And see, what else have I got? I had a couple more. There really is no competition, unfortunately, for Kings inside the Kinston area for barbecue.
Yeah. Well, they're about to build, I guess, a Smithfield's there.
Yeah,
they're about to open up a Smithfield's there.
That's true.
Which, I mean, for a chain, if you will, that's a quality product that they put out there.
Excellent fried chicken.
Yeah.
Is it true you're opening a business in downtown Kinston? Everybody else is. So are you going to open up like a sports bar, P-Man sports bar?
You have to have money, Dave, and I don't. So that's why I work 7 jobs, so I can have the splendor of the working man's beach. No, I thought for this COVID thing, it was kind of teetering on the edge, even though it was there, but it's really kind of made it a rough go for a lot of people, but especially in that town, it's made it a rough go for. Yeah, and the restaurants were I remember Barbecue Lodge, Bubba. Don't act like I don't. I vaguely remember it, but I do remember. But I was glad to see Wilbur's reopen.
Yes.
And they got a deal. Wilbur's used to be all cash, but now with this national coin shortage, you just go through now and you give them the card and they hand you a sandwich and you go on, and by God, life can't get any better.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Wilbur's fan, obviously being in the LaGrange area. Downtown Kinston, Sheffin the Farmer.
You claim everywhere is your hometown. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. What is this? You're the five-county stadium of Eastern North Carolina residents.
Let me explain it to you. I grew up in Williamston. My mom moved to the Kinston-LaGrange area during my teenage years. So I've lived in Williamston, Kinston, LaGrange, living in Jason technically now in Greene County in between LaGrange and Snow Hill. So pretty much anywhere from Williamston through Greenville through Kinston through Goldsboro is home to me. Eastern North Carolina is my hometown.
PJ, he goes from couch to couch to couch to couch.
It's kind of like me in my 20s, Dave, in a lot of ways.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's not the case. I had a few more Kinston references.
Yeah, knock it out. Let's do it. I'm ready to go. I'm caffeined up. Let's go.
All right. Well, we Sheffin the Farmer closed, coming back, sort of.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
God.
No, this is like a cliffhanger.
It is a bit of a cliffhanger there. That is.
I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
So with having the baseball team back there, I haven't seen the renovations. Heard it's very nice with the Rangers taking over and with the Wood Ducks. What are your thoughts on the Wood Ducks?
I went to a game a couple years ago and really have not been able to get back since. But and Wade Howell, I've had him on the show a few times. He's a very nice guy. And does a good job. And then Janelle, who's been worked in every minor league park, I think, on the planet. She's the Kyle from LaGrange of minor league baseball. Every park she's worked in. But Janelle does a great job. They got some really good folks there. I think it's great. No, I think it's great. I think you can't find a better, kind of fun Eastern Carolina thing to do. I mean, I know this audience really loves ECU baseball, and rightfully so. But I mean, to me, there's nothing better than going to a minor league park in the summer and getting a bag of peanuts and some watered down draft beer and chewing the fat for a few innings with your buddies, watching the stars of tomorrow, as they say. So
Thirsty Thursday.
Oh God, Thirsty Thursday. I broadcast those games in a couple incarnations, radio, and which was a great experience, and a little bit of TV. Back in the aughts for the Indians on UPN. So that was a lot of fun. It was a good time. And I'm a big proponent of, there being minor league baseball there in Kinston. It's perfectly positioned to draw, from New Bern and Greenville and Jacksonville and obviously Kinston and Goldsboro and even Williamston, one of the many hometowns of Kyle.
Yeah, I saved the last question for you, the hardest one of them all. As far as American is concerned, I know we're going to do a lot of in-house stuff with the anchors and certainly with the broadcasters. Has John Gilbert or Ryan Robinson, any of them ask you and Jay Sonhalter? There's a lot of guys that I know personally that would do excellent for if it's Olympic sports, if it's any other sport.
I've expressed my interest, and they know how to reach me. I'm hopeful that they will. I would love to do it. I feel like that fits. I feel like one, I work cheap, so that's going to my advantage. Two, I've kind of worked on everything you can imagine, and low budge to medium budge. I can, pull it off. So I hope that I would love to have the chance to do it. If you guys want to give me a push in that direction and give him a shout out on my behalf, as long as Bubba's not at the ballpark when he does it, I think that's fine. I think that's a great thing and a great way to go. And I hope I hope I get the chance to do it. I'm just asking for the shot at doing it and getting a chance to do it. There's been some other outlets I've talked to here during this time. There's a lot of unknown at this point. So if I can just go with Jay Sunholder and carry his stat book to the booth, I'd be happy because Sonny's, a big time ESPN commentator and all that.
Yeah, you and Sonny would be. I'm trying to build a case for you and Sonny because that's my personal preference. But I know that it's. I'm a homer, so for sure.
Well, here's the thing about those broadcasts, and I mean, I think the thing that people have to understand. They're obviously be local in their origin and their production. And I view it as Chip Carey for the Braves on Fox Sports South, or our friend Bob Rathburn who does the Hawks. I mean, you're the hometown announcer, but you also, are the professional broadcaster. So, I mean, that's how I would view it. You're kind of the voice of the team on the TV project that you're doing. And while you are, in my case, I would be professional. I mean, I do a lot of things I think that are old school that a lot of guys now don't do, as far as talking to coaches, talking to players, talking to other people who cover the team, just to get it a huge amount of notes. I mean, I did the UNCW telecast with Masson for 3 or 4 years, so I mean, I know how to do it. I just, I need you to push me into there. And I look really good in the suit. I'm not going to lie to you. I can see that. I look, Kyle wants to bag on me, but I've dropped a few LBs here during this COVID and en route to dropping a few more. And I'm damn handsome in a suit, Dave. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't look as good as you in a tie, but I still look.
Oh, hey, well, yeah. I'm wearing just a t-shirt tonight. That's how we roll here on the show. PJ, we'll let you get back to taking care of the wife. Thanks, man, for we didn't expect you to stay on with us, but it's been a real treat.
I think everybody's mad. I think everybody left because they got sick of me rambling on. And
what happened is
Bubba's ready to go.
Kyle actually, he texted me to let you know that his computer died, so he can't get back on. It's not a personal issue with you.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think. I didn't think. I'm rambling on. What a beautiful shot there! It's the Field of Dreams. They built it, and Bubba came. That's the great thing about this. If they built it, Bubba will come, and that's the deal.
What's great? They canceled the season, and Bubba's a fan. He still shows up, even though it's.
I'm not so convinced. I'm not so convinced Bubba's not sleeping there. I'm not so convinced about that.
Now, Dave, I don't know that I even told you this. They sent out an email. It's probably been a month ago now, but they had an awesome T-shirt. I hope I can get my hands on one. I know they took pre-orders, but they said on the shirt they had the Cannonballers logo, which isn't bad, and then it says 2020, a real kick to the Ballers.
Oh, that is good. I like
shirt.
that.
That's a great shirt.
I like that. No, that is a good shirt.
Tell people how they can. Obviously, tomorrow you got the big show. Tell everybody they can. Listen, and I hope you'll listen on Monday night. We got a really big guest I wanted to tell you about. So,
well, thank you, Dave. Tomorrow, 5:00 every day on your drive home. Our numbers have been tremendous. We've expanded our podcast into all the places on our website, 943thegame.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, you name it, we're on it. We got a few more things in the hopper that are going to be coming soon, I was told about today, which I think will be good for the program. And we're just going to, keep plugging along, but 94.3 FM on your radio dial. You can get us on Amazon and Google and whatever, 94.3 The Game. Ask them to stream that, and they'll comply. Tomorrow, Chip Patterson with CBS Sports, who covers college football.
He's really good.
Break some news today. I can't wait to talk to Chip, Raleigh native. Good to have him on always. So he'll be on with us live. And then Austin Karp on Sports Business Daily. Again, talking about what are the ramifications with these TV deals. Pardon me. What are they going to mean? So for no Big Ten. What happens if there is, God forbid, no college football? I'm still bullish it's going to happen. But we hope everybody will listen. And, I appreciate all the support, and it was fun to come on here. I don't like necessarily going to do a lot of these things, but because by God, at this point, nobody's more sick of hearing me talk than me. So I mean, it's but this has been fun. I enjoyed it, and I hope we can do it again down the road at some point.
Absolutely. Hopefully next time we can we'll do it. We'll have football and we can talk about how the Pirates are doing and other, I guess, college football teams, however many are playing.
Yeah, right now I feel good about it. I think today is just a mere bump in the road, and the thing you kind of have to do when you have these flare-ups and clusters. And I think Mike Houston's got a great plan, short-term for COVID and long-term for the program.
All right, P-Man, look forward to listening tomorrow on my ride home. Thank you so much, brother, and definitely stay safe there at the beach house.
I will. The Working Man's Beach, Casa de Johnson in Surf City, America. Thank you, guys.
All right, take care, man. All right, good night. Patrick Johnson, always a pleasure to have him on. I actually have known Patrick since, I believe, 1998, Bubba. So when you make a friend in radio, you've done something, and I appreciate the P-Man coming on. We've been friends for, 22 years, and he never ages. He looks the same as he did in 1998 for sure. But very excited to have on a really big guest on Monday night. I'll tell P-Man afterwards, but to have Jay Paterno is coming on the show on Monday. He's got a brand new book, Bubba, out. I'm very excited about it. Downloaded on Amazon, but certainly it's entitled Hot Seat is the main title of the book, and I look forward to reading it this weekend. Only like 336 pages, but it's a book about basically a fictional coach for Ohio State loses a bowl game he shouldn't have lost, and the president said, "Hey, you have one more year." So that's all we'll say about the book so far.
Yeah,
but that's going to be good on Monday night.
Look forward to checking that out. Looking forward to talking a number of topics in addition to the book with Jay Paterno. Obviously, such deep ties there in State College, and in addition to that, some of our other upcoming content on Sunday, 9:30 in the morning. Join us over breakfast that morning, or your brunch, if you will. We will be joined by Kirk Dahl. Coach Dahl, of course, played for Sonny Randall back in the early 70s, 71 and 72 as the defensive end. And then he was on 3 different staffs at East Carolina, some of which he was on the field capacity for Ruff, and then Coach Mo. And then most recently, last year, he served as Director of Alumni Relations on Coach Houston's staff. But look forward to being joined as Kyle make the guest appearance and make me change the overlay in mid-thought here. No pressure. I should have just left the logo on his face. But
well, leave it on my face, Bubba. I don't care. I'll leave something on your face.
Forget egg on his face. We'll have logo on his face. But on Tuesday, we'll be joined by Dave Ryan, formerly of ESPN, now of the CBS Sports Network, college football, college basketball, as well as other things. Also, Chris Vanini covers college football, specifically the so-called Group of Five for the Athletic. So we'll enjoy that show on Tuesday. We also have some other content headed your way next week. Harold Robinson was on the show recently. He'll be joining us, as well as East Carolina's former strength and conditioning coach under Coach Holtz and also the first year of Coach Ruff, Mike Golden. So look forward to talking with Coach Golden.
By the way, got breaking news, guys, for the 2020 NBA draft. The Hornets get the 3rd pick, so in the lottery. So good news for Michael Jordan Company. Just saw that, wanted to throw that out. Maybe one of these days we'll, Timberwolves got the 1st pick and we got the 3rd. Thank you, Johnny Gardner. Always Johnny. He is Johnny on the spot. Appreciate you, brother, for that. We got a lot of great guests coming up, and Kyle from LaGrange, it's great to see you back. And
yeah,
Bubba,
my computer died. Apologize to all the viewers out there that I know you guys were enjoying the Lenore County talk between me and Patrick Johnson, and unfortunately, the computer died mid-sentence, and just now getting back on. Apologize to Patrick for dropping out, and but I'm back now.
All right, guys, I'm very excited. We will have a football season.
We better have a football season.
We will put it on the guys of the Sports Objective. If anybody asks you, we will. I have that question like every day at work. Yes, we're going to have a football season.
And that's something, and I don't think our viewers fall into this category of being ignorant. But people out there, quit saying the football season's canceled. It's not. No, and don't ask. Don't ask anymore. Does this mean the football season's canceled? And quit overreacting to everything. And and to our administration, proceed as if we're playing the season, and act as if you want to play the season. I mean, God Almighty, I just don't get it.
Well, I hope that would.
Hey, Dave, I told Kyle this earlier when he was expressing some of these sentiments to me this afternoon. I said, Kyle, I'm feeling another, I guess, volume 2 of Letting Loose.
If it needs to, if I need to make one, I'll make one. But I'm going to hold off on that just for now.
If they do cancel you, we'll see. I don't even know what kind of.
Let me tell you something. Depending on how it's canceled, if it's a statewide thing, it's a statewide thing. But if we were to be the only ones to shut down or the first ones to shut down, I'd lose it. And I wouldn't be the only one. Pirate Nation would.
Hey,
the turmoil that would be in Pirate Nation, you would be levels like you've never seen.
guys, think about this. Think about this, and we'll wrap it up. Believe it or not, Cincinnati is in what state? Cincinnati's in what state? Ohio, right?
Ohio.
So the governor of Ohio says people can play football, but the number 2 team in the country cannot play football. That is crazy. That's absolutely insane. I'm not going to do a Kyle from LaGrange, but I can't believe Ohio State can't play, but Cincinnati can. That's just nuts. And I know it's the difference between the Big Ten and the American, but thank God. And let me say this. Thank God we have Mike Oresco and not the Big Ten commissioner. Thank God we have a real commissioner and not a novice. I'll just leave it at that. I'll stop.
And there is a rumor out there today that, there's always rumors every day, but supposedly 6 Big Ten schools may be thinking about going back and trying to get together and playing the season.
Oh.
So we'll see.
Guys, get this. I sent y'all in the group text yesterday, and I want to make this point on our show. How is it fair that the commissioner of the Big Ten won't let the sons of the family members, obviously, that play for those schools, they can't play, but his own son is in the SEC and can play. So if things are so bad, why are you allowing your son to play? If you're such a great dad, why would you tell your son sit out the season because COVID is so bad? That is so wrong.
That's a good point, but that is a good point and definite hypocrisy. Then again, his son his son is an adult. His dad may have told him to sit out, and he might have said, "Screw you, Dad, I'm playing ball."
Anyway,
maybe his son's got bigger balls than his dad.
Hey, and Dave, all this talk about Cincinnati, I'm going to censor this because it's a family-friendly show. All right, but Johnny Gardner just texted me. He said the big DD from Cincinnati. I'll leave it at
that. we definitely know that for sure. And Luke Fickell is a guy from Ohio State, so Ohio State alum, so and maybe a future coach of the Buckeyes. So if you're a Buckeyes fan, I guess you're going to be pulling for Cincinnati this year or watching them because you can't watch potentially a national championship.
Cincinnati, Dave, don't Power 5 it. If you're an Ohio Bobcat fan, if you're a Miami of Ohio fan, if you're a Toledo fan, if you're a Bowling Green fan, the whole college football world of Ohio belongs to Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. And I just thought I would use that as an example because I was thinking about it yesterday that Cincinnati can play, but the number 2 team in the nation. And by the way, there's another dumb thing I want to talk to you guys about. I was listening to Sirius XM and with Packer and Durham in the morning. And have you heard that coming up this week that they're going to have an AP poll? Have you heard about this? An AP poll.
And
that's going to have teams in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 that are not playing. That makes no sense to have a top 25. I don't think a top 25 is warranted anyway till you have the first one in late October anyway. It's just a name if you're a brand name team.
Well, I can promise you this. It is going to be meaningless because if the college football playoff happens, we're going to have the college football playoff poll in October, and only teams that are playing will be a part of it. So for the Associated Press to release a poll with Big Ten and Pac-12 teams a part of it, and I guess Mountain West or MAC also, people seem to forget those 2 conferences exist. But it shouldn't happen. If you're not playing, you don't get to be a part of the poll. It's the top 25 teams in college football for this season. And this season, if you're not playing, then you're not part of the season.
By the way, guys, from ESPN, another breaking story. Ryan Rivera diagnosed with lymph node cancer. It says it's very treatable and curable, and that's according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. So for the Washington football team, of course, former Panthers coach. So we'll send our prayers out to him for sure. And he says it's treatable.
Will you be saying go football team go?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Dave, we've heard of 24 hours of basketball at the beginning of the college basketball season. So let's have 24 hours.
We can do it. I've done that before. I stayed at a radio station for 4 straight days. It can be done. A marathon. It can be done.
Like she's laughing in the background.
Don't double dog dare me. Triple dog dare me. All right. So anyway, we'll Kyle, thank you so much, man, for everything. We'll thank our great guest on as well, and Bubba. Appreciate you, buddy. As always, we'll get out of here. And we made it to the 2-hour mark, one of our longest podcasts, but it was a good one, and at least in my opinion. I thought we did a good job tonight. Yes, it was. So you guys enjoy yourself the rest of the evening. We have Tim McGraw now, and of course, a Democrat National Convention for some folks. And you can do that now. In the meantime, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy it next time. See you guys. See you later. Good night, everybody. Go.